So most parents, when they want to improve their sleep, they focus on the number of hours of sleep that they are getting. While yes, this can be very beneficial, and honestly, we need to be striving to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. That's what we want to be getting. But the reality of it is that this isn't always necessarily optimal. It's not necessarily what we're able to get realistically. And the thing that we're really missing with this is that the key that we need to be focusing on is consistency. We need to kind of get past this idea sometimes that a perfect night of sleep is 8 hours of sleep. While yes, this is ideal, again, it's not always something that we're going to be able to do. And so the main thing that we need to focus on is being consistent, especially when we're looking to improve our sleep. And so this is where I always start with everybody that I work with, to work on the sleep, is we need to figure out how we can be as consistent as possible with the time that we are waking up and the time that we are going to bed. The reason for this is just simply because our mind and our body thrives on this routine, on this consistency. Our entire sleep wake cycle is governed by two different things, but one of which, and the big one that we're kind of talking about here, is our circadian rhythm. And so when we are not being consistent with the times that we're waking up and the times that we're going to bed, our circadian rhythm gets all completely thrown out of whack. This is, a good example of this is anybody who's experienced jet lag before. This is a prime example of that. And we all know how awful we feel when we are experiencing jet lag, especially if it's some severe jet lag. And so this is why we want to make sure that we are as consistent as possible across the board. What exactly this means is that we're going to bed and we're waking up at the same time, day in and day out. And I know for a lot of people, it's not, it may not be necessarily the thing that you want to do, because you want to be able to sleep in on the weekends. You want to be able to get in those extra hours if you can. And while yes, there's nothing necessarily wrong with taking a nap or sleeping in a little bit later, if that doesn't become problematic for your sleep in general. But as a whole, you want to make sure that you are being as consistent as possible with those hours that you are waking up and going to bed. So, how exactly do you do this? One of the things that I often see with people is that, they go to the bed at, maybe they go to bed at 10:30 during the week, and they wake up at 6:30 during the week. But then on the weekends, they use it to kind of catch up on sleep. While this sounds good in theory, it doesn't actually work the way that we want it to. And it creates something that we call social jet lag, where we run into the exact same problem because we're not being consistent across the board. And so it's almost as if our body and our mind, it doesn't know exactly what to expect. And we're constantly playing catch up then. And we're not getting good, consistent sleep the way that we need to. And I'm saying the word consistent a lot, but it's kind of key for the video today. So what do we need to do? You need to find a time and stick to it. The general recommendation for most people is you figure out what time in the morning you have to wake up by, and then you go back from there. you know that's going to be kind of the best way to go, is because for the most part, it's the reason is because for most of us, we have a specific wake time that we have to adhere to. Maybe this is because of getting the kids up and getting them off to school in time, or getting up and getting ready for work, or whatever, what have you. We typically have a specific time in the morning that we have to wake up. And so what you can do then is you take that and you work backwards from there to figure out where your bedtime has to be. Again, we want to aim for those 8 hours, but if you can't get 8 hours of sleep in the course of a night, it's better to get 6 hours that is routine, that is consistent from one night to the next. We want to focus on just having that regularity, day in and day out, regardless of what's going on, regardless of whether it's the weekday or the weekend. I know it may not necessarily be, pleasurable at times because you want to get extra sleep, but if getting more sleep and sleeping on the weekends is going to ruin things for the oncoming week, do you really want to take that risk? So again, focus on just being consistent. If that's where you start, if you're in the beginning kind of this whole journey, and and you're trying to figure out, okay, what's the first thing that I do? That is the first thing. Don't worry so much about the hours of sleep. That'll come. That'll come with time. Worry first about just making sure that you are waking up and going to bed at the same time each and every day. That's the starting point. That's where we start from, the very beginning. Is we got to be consistent with that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up, and I hope that was clear. Yeah, I hope that was clear. And if you guys have any questions or anything, comment below, let me know, and I can explain it a little bit better if I need to. Otherwise, I will catch you all in the next video. Thanks.